Hello, viewers. I'm SB,
And I'm
and
Amabel.
welcome back to Amabel Goes to 4X School, Part 1, Civilization 6, Episode 2, and then maybe some words. I don't know. I don't know how I'm titling these yet.
Oh, that should be the
Yep,
title.
that's clearly the winner. So we got sort of like the very basics of the system in hand. Before we get into any more stuff, which is going to concern interactions with other players a lot today, what do you think about the aesthetics of this? Like you are a person who has to like draw and develop game maps, and
Mm-hmm.
you put a lot of thought into sort of aesthetic design of hex grids and battle systems and I don't know, representations of leaders and stuff. What do you think of the way that Civ is like handling these things, both from an aesthetic perspective and from a UI kind of perspective?
I mean, it's pretty enough. It's a different set of parameters than what I'm used to dealing with because, like, first of all, the hex grid's very faint, for example, and it can be because you can zoom in and the computer regulates the movement for you. But if I'm doing a hex grid for a board game, that grid needs to be much more clearly defined
Sure.
and there's less you want it to be pretty, you want there to be some folding of one terrain feature into another, but they still need to be extremely distinct, which this mostly is. So yeah, it's like a slick presentation. It's not necessarily, I prefer things that are a lot more overtly functional and stylized
Yeah, and like
rather
if I were to
than
turn off, and I would never play the game this way, understand. But where is the map options here? If I were to turn off the resource option, resource icons, yield icons, like at a glance, you might have difficulty telling that this is a grassland tile and that's a hill tile,
yeah.
but they don't have to be as readable in a split second at a glance as they do in like a board game or something, because the game is here to enforce the rules difference for you, and you can always just mouse over a thing to get the detailed read on it if that is something that you want. And it also means that there can be a lot more information encoded into a tile. Like, for example, a thing that we do not have clear vision of at all right now is that each of these tiles has an appeal level. It's like how beautiful the land is. That
Okay.
will come into play for certain things, like later in the game when you are able to like set national parks and stuff. That takes the appeal of the land into account, and so you have like all of these different lenses that you can throw over top of the world, and many of them don't even do anything meaningful right now because there's just not enough information encoded into the thing yet. But
Okay. Yeah, and that's something with a game with this level of complexity that you can have. Because in both the board game and in this space, you want this information to be parsable so you can make decisions. But you have a lot less information to parse with a board game on purpose. Because it needs to be something that can be processed by a human brain rather than having a computer running it for you or reminding you of
yeah.
things.
So this man here, Wilfred Laurier, has come to us offering some money in exchange for this diplomatic favor that we have recently received as a resource from interacting with a tribal village. It's a very abstracted sort of resource. Basically, this is like voting power in the UN, sort of like the League of Nations, which is a thing that doesn't even exist yet. But once one player has met every other player in the game, the sort of like the face of interplayer diplomacy changes significantly.
Okay.
So he's offering us 5 gold per turn for 30 turns and open borders. And I'm going to tell him no, I think. We're doing okay on money, and I don't value the opening of his borders, really. Yeah, I'm just going to say no. So I'm very, very slowly approaching. We have a barbarian unit bombarding our city from across the river here, just attacking us over and over again.
That's rude.
In a way that's not, it's doing less harm than we have the ability to recover in a single turn. So it doesn't like really matter. But I'm sending a unit over there to flummox him anyway. This scout just picked up a promotion, and it feels like we have a fair amount of hill terrain and a fair amount of sort of tree dense terrain. Let's take Ranger here because we do need to explore up this way. So you can see now he has solidified his border. We do not have the ability to enforce our borders, and you can see that is the case because they are depicted with the dotted line here.
Mm-hmm.
But once we have developed that ability, the line solidifies, and you can see our scout is no longer allowed to move into his tiles. I don't super care about this. This does not matter to us a huge amount at the moment.
I mean, yeah, it's Canada.
Okay, so we just finished our first special district here, this holy site, and this is where we got to talk about great people. This is a system I expect you're going to have some feelings about. Here is the great people window. So, based on the idea that sometimes a great person comes along who has some like very serious effect on your society, there are several different types of great people available, and when you get a great person, they perform some kind of basically like single shot miracle that does cool stuff to your civ. We are starting now to generate great profit points because we have a holy site. That's what a holy site does, is it generates a great profit point every turn. You can see here, it would take 60 points to get a great profit. We don't have any yet, but we're generating a couple now that we've finished that site. Some other player is generating 3 per turn and is all the way up to 24. And if whoever fills up the meter first gets this great person, and then sort of like the next one in the group is put forward. And there's, many different great people of each type. Some of them, like great prophets all do the same thing. You can expend them to found a religion and establish the city that they are standing in as the holy city of that religion. But some of them will be, like, all of the great scientists are different. You can see Zhang Heng is a classical era great scientist, and he triggers Eureka's for these era-appropriate technologies. So this is a system that we're going to be paying quite a lot of attention to because the pantheon we chose was we get bonus great person points from holy sites, a campus with a library, or a theater square with an amphitheater, which are the base ways of earning great prophets, great scientists, and great writers. I thought in particular great scientists would be relevant for us because a lot of them do this triggering Eureka's thing, which interacts in a very positive way with our civilization's rules. So for that reason, I think there's pretty good odds that we are going to build a campus now. You can see here all the sites that we can put a campus down in. The adjacency bonuses for a campus by itself, it just creates a great scientist point every turn. It gets +1 science from mountains of any type, plus science from adjacent districts, plus science from adjacent rainforests, and certain kinds of special terrain features like the Great Barrier Reef or whatever. So this is a pretty good location because it's got 2 adjacent mountains and 2 adjacent jungles.
Okay.
Obviously, we don't own this tile yet. We have to purchase it, but I do think that's a pretty good spot. And that'll take some time to get built, but it'll get there.
The school bell is very silly.
Yeah, I hear you. That aside, our expansion's going well. Let's see here. This city does not have marked where its next tile acquisition is. We are not putting out very much culture.
Yeah.
But we're going to want to pick up these horses over here probably At some point, there's the rice. At some point, there's diamonds. Diamonds are available to us. That's another luxury resource we don't have. We also have access to a second patch of citrus here. We don't get any benefit from multiple copies of the same luxury, but this would be something we could trade off to other players freely, which would be potentially valuable. So this great people system, there are things about it that I think are neat. There's some interesting stuff going on there, but I also think it definitely, like, through its very existence, sort of validates a kind of a
Almost like a great person theory of history.
yeah, some kind of like great person theory of history. I mean, like, this is a thing people, this is a way of looking at the history of the world that I think is kind of is pretty corrosive. It's pretty, first of all, just not really not in great tune with reality, which is my major problem with it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I have a pretty...
Okay, now we have the border growth indicator showing. I think it wasn't showing there because we had just acquired a new tile. I'm not waiting 14 turns. I want these horses now.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like,
So, putting down a thing there triggered the Eureka for horseback riding. So that has finished the horseback riding tech immediately. Sorry, I cut off Sean Bean reading a hilarious quote.
Oh, good. That's fine.
And that is the first completed technology of the classical era. We hit the horseback. We hit classical before anybody else did. So that is why this says many dispute the actual start of the classical era, but it was when Babylon discovered horseback riding, and we get some era score for pushing the world forward in this way.
Yeah. So there's...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, like... So there's a lot of, like, theories of history that are kind of running alongside each other that are kind of corrosive. Like, there is the idea that history is just this progression towards the modern world, towards progress, that there is an inevitability to it. That's bad. The great man theory of history is bad, though, the people do matter.
Well,
the
of course.
People,
I think
but, like,
for me, the core problem with the great man theory of history is that it denies the mattering of most people.
well, yeah,
It really focuses, like, the work of the combined work and intelligence and decision making of thousands or millions into, like, one or two guys.
Yeah, and it sucks ass in that way. But, there also is the sense that, like, the one or two guys that are in charge of whatever, like, which guy it is matters, but not to the degree where, like, they're the ones who are creating the history. So it plays into that, and also something I'm noticing is something I see a lot in, like, historical card-driven game design. If you will forgive a detour, where it's common for, like, all the events of a historical topic to be replicated by a card and have some kind of mechanical mirroring of what happened there, but it's always done in a way that's kind of almost contextless.
Yeah.
And where it reduces the people and events and the flow of events, the causality of it, the specificity of it, and temporal specificity of it, to, just like, well, here's this card that does this cool thing, to the point where, when we got the special unit for Babylon, I forgot what the unit was. But, like, I was not necessarily familiar with that because Babylonian warfare is not something I'm super familiar with. So I went to look it up after, and all I got was a bunch of entries for Civ 6.
Sure.
Where, like, it's actually supplanting historical information with the game information.
Boy, that's a topic I'm super not prepared tackle, but yeah, that's a really interesting. Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Yeah, like Civ in particular, there is that concern, right? Where like the game is so much more popular than the things that it's based on, that it does have the ability to sort of do some damage. That's interesting. Before you go on, a bunch of
Okay,
stuff
yes,
happening
please,
that I want to
Bobby.
talk about. First of
Okay.
all, this set of barbarian slingers just ran over here, and because we didn't have a military unit in this area, one of my military units was headed this way to deal with barbarian nonsense. And I'm looking around. I don't see a camp out here in the dark, but we can't be sure. I think we're safe now. And I was
Okay.
scouting with the other one. We didn't have anybody to drive them off, and so they have pillaged the plantation or whatever, the camp that we had set up to harvest the honey from the bees. So we are no longer getting the benefit of this special tile, which means that we are no longer have a copy of this luxury resource. We can repair it with a builder, but it is slowing things down a little bit because remember, if the builder moves into a position where the slingers can move onto it, they can just take it away from us. And it prevents me from
Yeah.
building more improvements because the builder only has a certain number of build charges before it disappears. Repairing doesn't consume a build charge, but if I build anything else with this guy, he'll be gone and I won't be able to repair this until our next builder is finished, which is going to be a minute. So we're taking some economic damage here because I do not have my army in the right place, which is a thing that is maybe at least interesting. Also, there's a barbarian camp over there. We don't care about that. Also, we've developed our first trade unit. We got a
Okay.
trader. So let's talk about this. You can see here, we have the ability to run trade to any other city that we can see that is within a certain number of tiles. There's a maximum trade distance here. We can run the trade route from Dur Koregazu, or we can rehome this trader with this button, and then and that'll take a turn, and then we can run the trade route from a different city. So like if we wanted to run trade from Malgium to like Mexico City or something, trade with the external forces. You can run trade routes to other players or city states, and generally doing so will get you some gold and often something else depending on what kind of city state they are. Produce a little bit of culture if they're a cultural city state, or a little bit of faith if they're a religious city state. You can also run, if you're running routes to another player, there can be other effects, and once religion enters the equation, things get more complicated because trade routes are a reasonably effective way of spreading your religion.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Like that's a cool
And
thing that makes sense.
we will not get the ability to do it manually until much later. But for right now, one of the critical things about trade units is trade units establish roads. The thing that builds roads in this game is trade, is the existence of trade. So I am inclined to run this first trade route. You can see you can run them to your own cities and they'll just create points of resources effectively. If we run a trade route to Babylon, it produces 2 food and 1 industry for Dur Koregazu, but we don't lose anything in Babylon. Those resources just come out of nowhere. But in part, I want to run the trade route to like Malgium just so that we get a nice road across our country, because right now it's a real pain in the ass to move around out here because there's so many mountains and forests and stuff. And the road will obviously produce those higher movement rates. So the extra point of food from Babylon is definitely a consideration, though. Maybe we should do that trade route, and because Dur Koregazu is not growing very fast.
Okay.
And then we can get the other half of the road constructed later. I think I am going to do that.
All right.
Money, if it does not bring you happiness, will at least help you be miserable in comfort.
So we've unlocked, thanks to trade giving us a boost to currency, we've unlocked currency, which gives us the ability to build the commercial hub, the commercial district, which produces great merchant points and also money. And let's get up here and continue scouting. So I'm gonna step our builder forward here because I think I can bait this. I think I can bait this guy here. He will probably step back forward, but he can't actually enter our space because there's a river between them. And then I'll step the builder back, and basically I'm just gonna try to hold him in place until one of our military units can get here.
Okay.
To squash him. And also, we're just looking around. We're just getting data. Aha.
Pensiați venguți la Curdarienu, duchesa da Chitania, reina consorts de Franța ed Anglaterra, Ciuciaireți d'amor. Carls novas dits?
Okay, I don't know anything about this. It's an honor to meet you. Sure, I would love to see where your city is. Okay, so this is a leader for England that I'm not familiar with.
Oh, Eleanor of Aquitaine. I mean, I know the historical figure.
Yeah, she's not the default leader of England in this game. She's
Okay.
So what's her deal? She builds populous cities. She likes civilizations whose nearby cities have high population. She dislikes civilizations with small cities nearby. Okay. Interesting. We're gonna send a delegation with a gift of gold for her. Okay. We've been welcomed in. We have a little bit more access thanks to that. Not enough to see what her other agenda is, sadly, but we'll get a little bit of diplomatic information about when she makes friends with people, what kind of stuff is going on in her empire, and so on. And you can see here we could improve our access level by researching printing, establishing a trade route with her. By being Catherine de Medici, that would raise our access level. Becoming allies, getting spies. Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Well,
Do you think it's
Medici-
weird that they tell you that you could, if you were playing as someone else, you'd be home already?
Yeah, but Catherine de Medici is like lived hundreds of years after. That
Sweetie,
doesn't
that's
make
not how that
sense.
works.
It's changing empires
I
that
know.
rose and fell, and you can foresee the future too.
Okay. Marcus Aurelius. So,
What?
our government has changed. Or rather, we've unlocked new policies, and so our government may change. Do we want to mess with these policies at all? I think +1 production in all cities is better now than it was before. Now that we're expanding out, we have more cities. The double experience for recon units is probably getting less valuable now that there's less new stuff to explore. And any minute now, the barbarians are going to start producing better units. So I might take us back to discipline for a minute. We don't really need loyalty. We haven't even talked about loyalty. It's not relevant at the moment. And we certainly don't need to be better at building naval units, which we kind of can't do. I guess we could. We have a coastal city, and we have sailing. So we could build the base naval unit and do some water exploration, and maybe that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Should we prep to fight? Because we got to clear out this barbarian camp that's sending the guys who are pillaging our stuff. But also,
So
boats
how-
is good.
How often can you change policies?
You can change policies for free on any turn where you research new policy cards, where you finish a civic.
Okay.
Or you can pay some money to change policies at any time.
You know, I think it's worth the risk to go to maritime.
Okay, yeah.
That's me.
I'm all right with it. It's gonna
Yeah, I know
be a
that's-
minute before this place is ready to do that, but I think I see the value. Ah,
And I know that.
so
I know that.
we
Okay.
unlock some important stuff here.
Okay.
We unlock the ability to enforce our borders, and thus to grant open borders to other civilizations to choose not to enforce our borders. We also unlocked our first governor title. So you're about to say something. Will it stand until after I explain the governor system?
It will. It will. Yeah.
Welcome to the governor system. There weren't a lot of things going on in this game before, so I felt like it was appropriate to layer on a new layer here. So these are the governors that are available. Whenever you earn a governor title, you may appoint one of the governors you don't have to one of your cities, or you may promote one of the governors you do have. We're just going to use Magnus as a quick example here. When you gain a governor, each one of these governors has some sort of base value to the city. Magnus makes it so that if you harvest forests or something in that city, you get 50% bonus yield from doing that. In addition, he has basically like a skill tree, and every time you give him an upgrade, he can learn a new thing going down the lines. Some of this stuff can be pretty powerful, plus 20% food growth in the city, and trade routes ending here provide bonus food to the starting city, just like tons more food. Settlers trained in the city don't consume population. That's a big deal for growth. And each one of the governors has sort of like a flavor. Like Victor is your war governor, Amani is your diplomatic governor, Moksha is your religious governor. Bonus religious strength for your theological units and stuff. Eventually allows you to buy districts straight up with faith. Magnus is the sort of like straight production focused guy. You are like very builder focused. All things building and construction, while Magnus's thing is more generally like resources, power, and stuff. Pingala is the science and culture guy, and then Reina is the gold-focused one. So they all can improve your cities in different ways, and then on top of those improvements, having a governor dramatically increases the amount of loyalty the city puts out, which is a system that, again, we haven't talked about and doesn't matter yet.
Okay.
So...
This is my favorite Christmas song.
All that being the case, we could bring on this cardinal here, put him in the capital, +2 faith from every specialty district in the city. The capital has a holy site already. It's building a campus. This would be an extra 4 faith per turn, and our empire is putting out a total of 5 faith per turn right now. So that's a pretty significant growth. Or we could focus more on like generation of culture, because our culture output's not like spectacular right now. We could pick up some diplomatic stuff. Amani can be assigned to a city-state and not just your own cities. And in a city-state, she acts as 2 envoys, which is kind of a fun thing to do if you and another person are fighting over a city-state.
Yeah.
Reina, helps us get money, acquire new tiles in the city faster, and gain gold for each foreign trade route passing through the city. I am inclined to... We're pretty close to finishing some builders. And I do think Liang is generally good. Like, zoning commissioner is a generally good thing. Aquaculture in our city that is by the coast. Do we have places to build fisheries? Yeah, we absolutely do. There's some value to that.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular feeling? You don't know this game systems well enough. What am
I don't know the game system, so yeah, I am observing and trying to.
What do you think of this layer here?
I mean, this layer seems fine, and actually, I like that. As near as I can tell, like none of these are.
I'm actually going to take Pingala because we could use the culture help. I think.
Okay. And I was gonna say, I know that's not how the game doesn't work. Like it's not trying to simulate anything. I get that.
Yeah.
But the specificity of the things is just it's a very strange cultural artifact for me. Because something like that system with the governors, I did not recognize them as being like named historical figures. They were sorts of people.
Yeah.
And that worked fine for me. In a way that
the break between Catherine de Medici and Eleanor of Aquitaine doesn't.
Yeah, because it feels very like Diana Warrior Princess.
Sure. So we have an interesting split here because we've now finished Early Empire. My initial push was to just get us to the bonuses that get us to the civics that would allow us to take political philosophy and upgrade our government into a type that can hold more cards, right? But
Yeah.
we have Divine Spark, which would help us earn great people through a theater square more quickly. And Early Empire is the only prerequisite for drama and poetry. Like, I am wondering if it makes sense to just go drama and poetry now, try to get culture growth, like really get our culture growth firing, and rely mostly on Eurekas for our science, and see if we can just get a lot of great people rolling really quickly. And I mean, not really quickly. We're already playing kind of slowly. It's turn 49 and we, but like a good player, a good player would be doing a lot better than I am right now. State workforce gives us access to the government plaza. This is the other prerequisite for political philosophy. It gives us access to the government plaza district, which is particularly valuable in terms of adjacency. The government plaza just increases the value of any other district adjacent to it by 1. And this does award a governor title. And that's what we'd be getting on the way to political philosophy. But I kind of want to get our theater square. In part because I want to introduce you to the systems that come from that thing.
And because, I'm a theater kid. I get it. I understand.
Sure, and because I know you're a theater kid. Okay, well, this scout's not going to get very far now that she has, now that we've found that her empire is here. Although, notice, she likes us better than John does, and she might be willing to open her borders. If we just, like, offer Inkai, she would accept this deal. What if, how much do you like this deal? What if just, like, also a little bit of gold? How valuable is the opening of my borders to you? It turns out, yeah, okay, just about fair. You know what? I'll take it. So now our scout can move across there. So you get, every civilization has, sort of like unique music pieces. And you hear the music of your civilization, but you also hear the music of your neighbors.
Shot an arrow into the air.
Which is why we're
To
getting
earth.
the music we're getting.
I knew not where.
Yeah, music I recognize.
Yeah. Okay, like I said, I'm just going to try to keep this guy dancing back and forth until our units are in place to chomp him. So they have scouts running around. I'm going to put our scout into sort of a defensive position here.
Okay.
Because I don't want the barbarian units coming down and messing with our trade route. If you have trade units that are running in areas where barbarians can get a hold of them, or where, players that you're at war with can get a hold of them, they can sack the trade route. And obviously, take some benefit for themselves. And I would love it if that didn't happen. Okay, so let's talk about the next set of techs. Apprenticeship is very valuable. It gives you access to the production district. And all we have to do to boost it is build 3 mines. And we have 3 sources of copper near our cities. So we don't need to worry about that. That's going to happen.
Okay.
What else do we need? Mathematics gives access to the diplomatic quarter, which didn't exist last time I played this game, I'm fairly sure. +1 movement for all naval units. All you have to do is build 3 different specialty districts. You know what? We're kind of working on it. Celestial navigation requires you to improve to sea resources, which is a thing that I do intend to do. There's a lot of stuff here that, you know what? Masonry. Maybe pouring our science into masonry for a bit makes sense, because for masonry, well, no, never mind. I was going to say, I don't think we have quarrying resources, but we do. We have raw stone here that we can reach from Melgium. I'm trying to figure out, like, what's a thing that we're not going to be able to get through boosting. But at the moment, none of our options are such things. Ironworking. There is iron around, but it's not actually very close to our cities. I guess we'll pour stuff into ironworking, because I think we can, in fact, get every other tech that's available to us through boosts. Yeah, okay. It's sort of a weird experience playing this particular faction. So you'll notice because we
Yeah.
because we pushed the world forward on stuff, we're getting the notification that the ancient era is coming to an end. This is time where like players who have fewer era points are scrambling to make sure that they're going to get something good in the next era. Interesting that he hasn't come back. Now, unfortunately, we can't just walk up here and repair this because he is able to move to that location in a single move.
Okay.
If we cross the river, we will pay the price. But if we can get him to move one more space so that he can attack our scout, we will be able to safely.
Okay.
safely act.
Gotcha.
So we're just gonna let that guy sit right there while we spy on Eleanor's entire civilization. You just hang out for a turn, and our sad little military is—they're coming. They'll get here eventually.
I think it's interesting because you mentioned that the way these Eureka's are filling up the thing immediately is not normally how, it's not a typical experience, right?
Yeah.
But I like that a lot mechanically, a lot more than just piling up science points.
Yeah.
Because and this again is the simulationist in me that I'm trying slowly to strangle for the sake of the series, but you don't necessarily, especially in this period of time, create innovations by throwing a lot of resources at it in the same way as you do like with like a modern lab or tech initiative,
Mm-hmm.
So like I like the way it works. Like, you do this thing and this idea spontaneously arises.
Okay. Interesting.
I guess I should ask.
Yeah.
Now that we're in contact with other players, do players get to share technologies at all as part of trade, or is that not really a thing in this game or series?
There are ways. There are things. So a major drought has struck. Named the Leeds drought, this severe lack of rainfall can damage improvements and will curb food output for the next 5 turns. In this area, I'm not 100% clear what the weather, like how that works, how those things can be caused or avoided. I mean, obviously the weather is the weather. There's not much you can do about it.
Yeah.
But the systems are not entirely known to me. I'm gonna move away from the river now. This guy is. The barbarians have been moving enough other units around here that I'm just gonna wait until our military units cross the river to send our builder over, and the scout needs to take a second off of being shot in the face so he can recover. Okay, there's definitely room for another like couple of cities up here. Like a city in this area would not be terrible. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, like we could found a city on the Euphrates. Something
Historically, that some people have done.
yeah, something to think about perhaps. Okay. Now, if I were playing to like really optimize some things, I might have waited to build our first good campus until the next era. I'm doing a lot of things that gain us era score now that aren't repeatable. And so our next era, we're going to find ourselves a little bit pressed to generate score.
Okay.
But it is what it is, I've already made the decisions. All right, let's approach here. More turtles. Adorable. I tend to play the game pretty zoomed out and with all the yield icons on and everything, and that makes it a little hard to enjoy the graphics, but they're very good. The little details and stuff are really, really cool and impressive, and they're worth zooming in and then taking a real look at. Okay, so like I'm saying, we could build a settler. We could build some more military units. It takes 20 horses to build a horseman. You can see this is a This is a stockpile of resources accumulate type situation. So this horse pasture is giving us 2 horse per turn, and at 20 horse we can build a horseman. Very sensible, very reasonable way for that to work.
Yeah.
There are some Wonders of the World available. You can see here some other players. So somebody got the first Great Profit. Some other players have started to generate Great Profit points. We have such a lead on them, though. Even though England is generating 4 points per turn while we are only generating 3, we are going to get to our Great Profit before them unless they do something to pull ahead of us. So we'll keep an eye on this a little bit, but I think we're likely to get the next Great Profit and thus be able to found our religion. So I'm not going to stress too much about like Stonehenge to rush a Great Profit out. I might build us a Pelgam. +1 housing, +2 production. River freshwater tiles receive +1 food. City must be adjacent to a river. Like Malgium is the place that's really going to benefit from this, but the production and the housing are good. Babylon is getting close to its housing cap. The other thing we could build is a military unit. Like for dealing with the amount of barbarians we're dealing with here, a proper ranged unit would not be a bad thing. I think I'm going to build an archer. It's so nice to have ranged units, you know? My man wants my horses. Absolutely not. I need those horses. Okay, the barbarians they're going to get real about it, apparently. So we are going to, real quickly here, repair our camp. Our warrior is going to win a major victory over their warrior. We're going to press forward a little bit. And I think the move here is let's build some mines with this guy here.
Okay.
Another drought has struck up north. It's just a real dry season. Okay, we can't see anything in particular out here except that there's a lot of crab fishing off of this peninsula. So this city is not very developed yet. We got our worker out. We need to start pumping out other stuff. So we have some culture production in the offing here. Building a monument would give us more. Obviously, +2 culture when your total culture output is only 4 is a pretty big deal. We could also build some kind of specialty district. I don't know how much military I want. As it's not very expensive for us to build to take a second and build another one of our special unit.
Mm-hmm.
But we're about to head into the next sort of phase of the world, and that unit is no longer really like high tech. And I'm worried about it getting outclassed a little bit. So I'm wondering if we should like start steering away from that. Maybe it's a good time to build a monument, honestly. The territory around this city is fairly valuable, like reaching out to grab the other tiles around Yosemite and this plains, the citrus plantation over here and stuff. Let's maybe focus on that a bit. Alright, that barbarian is preparing to pillage our trader.
There's a lot of barbarians. Yeah,
so this is what happens to a barbarian encampment if you don't what happens if you don't kill a barbarian encampment off is the scout sees your city, gets back, and then it causes the barbarian encampment to go into like overdrive and just produce 1 billion units.
Well, that certainly doesn't reflect any cultural attitudes.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to stop them from killing the trader. That unit is on the trader already, and we don't have the resources to get it off of there. Wilfrid Laurier finished building the Oracle. That's cool. Good for him. I think I am going to construct the mine because we want to get to 3 mines. We might have to just run this scout backwards because I think we're going to get killed if we don't.
there's no capacity to negotiate with the barbarians, to offer them anything.
I'm gonna
Leave
put
you
this
alone.
in the sort of the gentlest possible way.
Yeah.
These barbarians, the view of the civilization video game is that in the classical sense, these barbarians are not people. You know? I believe they introduced a game mode eventually that fixes that, and I'd be very surprised if this system remained that way into Civ 7, but it is in keeping with the way that this stuff works in all the previous Civ games, and indeed in most other 4Xs. These simply are not like, you can't talk to them, they're not, yeah. So given the sudden thrust of units here, I am thinking it might be a good idea to purchase us a military unit. If I'm going to purchase a military unit, I'd really prefer to purchase an archer for 240 gold, which is more gold than we have. So I am going to, really quickly here, just have a chat with the person that we know who likes us and see if I can get some gold out of her. What would it take? She says, give me all your horses. I'll give you 4 gold per turn for 30 turns. That's not really going to work for me. I don't need all this gold. I need like 42 gold. So, not 20 horses. What would you give me for... You're just not willing to put up 42 gold. What if I trade you 10 turns of 5 gold each? Okay, this is a fair trade.
So you're taking a loan and paying it back. That's cool.
I mean, I need it, right?
Yeah,
but no, this doesn't hurt too. Oh wait, sorry. This is for 30 turns, not for 10 turns. For 30 turns, let's see what she'll take. She won't do it for 90 gold over time. 120 gold over time would be fine. Honestly, that's a brutal interest rate. I will take it because I do think it really helps us to have an extra archer here. Unfortunately, units that you purchase spawn in with their turn already. It's like they don't get a turn turn, so. But this is definitely the time to do the thing. I think I'm going to just wall up with these 2 units. We would trivially kill this unit with either of our melee units, but when a melee unit kills another one, they also move forward into that space, and then we would just die. So we're just going to wall up here, fortify until healed, see what comes of that. Now, I don't want to start a big project here necessarily because I'm hoping to build a harbor. We're going to get this boosted for free when we improve 2C resources, which is what I intend to do with this guy. Although I guess we're probably going to have to spend some money. How is this city's 7 turns until border growth? Okay. Because we're broke now, right? So my hope was to spend this builder's charges on mine, fishing boats, but it is a little tricky now.
Yeah, the decisions seem to have gotten a lot trickier very quickly once there started being some pressure on the borders there, and I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible to just build a galley and see if there is a sort of a shallow water route anywhere. Let's build our first boat. All right, these barbarians are mostly going to try to run into our territory and be annoying. That's their primary deal. So they didn't pillage the trader, but they did move a different unit onto the trader, presumably to pillage it this turn. Not really sure why they're behaving the way they're behaving. In any case, I'm going to construct this mine.
Reinvent the wheel. Just realign it.
All right, heavy chariots are a pretty decent melee strength unit. But I think we're probably not going to bother making any because we have access to horsemen. So let's talk a little bit about like the military.
Okay.
We have a lot of warriors. We have a lot of like basic fighter type units that are military strength, melee strength 20-ish. This guy's got 17, but a bunch of different, benefits, a bunch of different situations where he gets more. The military units that we're researching now, like the horseman that we picked up here, is a 36 strength unit and is super fast. The heavy chariot that we just researched is a 28 strength unit, and these units are going to be dominant for a little while.
Okay.
You can build spears, which are 25 strength. It's a lot less than 36. They do get, obviously, a bonus versus cavalry.
Mm-hmm.
The melee unit of the classical era is intended to be the swordsman. Swordsmen require iron, though. They have about the same melee strength as the horse, but they're slower and they require iron. And that can be a little awkward. Once we get into the medieval era, everybody gets access to the pikemen. Anybody who wants to, bother researching this, gets access to the pikemen. The pikemen having 45 strength and not requiring any special anything, which is pretty powerful. And then there's another class of archer at this tier that has a range strength of 40. So those become sort of like the basic units of combat in the medieval era. And then the heavy cavalry, which is really high strength, but obviously has some problems with the fact that the base melee unit at this time is anti-cavalry.
Okay. That makes sense.
This guy dealt more damage to me than I was expecting, and I am thinking I might back up. Well, no, you know what we'll do? We'll just reduce his combat strength enough that, and we'll stay here and heal. Enough that I think if he attacks again, he'll probably just die. Because we're fortified now. Our new archer will shoot at this warrior. We can't stop that warrior from pillaging our trade route, but we can kill him if he spends his movement doing so, hopefully. Because we need to clear this camp. This is a high priority for us now. Okay, actually, our trader moved into our city before he got a turn. And we lost a unit. That's frustrating. Our Sabum was not able to survive. This barbarian has like 1 health. Presumably we got a bad roll there. So my plan with this guy was to set up a mine over there. That third mine. Their warrior is fleeing because there's nothing more important to him in life than attacking this worker. And we're going to try to use that against him. Just keep him in the area. Barbarians are very, very focused on killing your workers. It's a thing they feel very strongly about. So I don't feel super safe stepping out here. Ugh, this is getting ugly. All right, you guys are gonna get out on the water. You're just gonna end your turn there. All right, in 2 turns we'll have another archer. That'll give us some improved ability to fight back, but I do think we're gonna maybe end up losing our ground force, and that really sucks. I might even have this scout just swing out and take a kind of a bad trade against this guy just to reduce the damage the slinger is going to deal.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. And I'm going to have this builder just hang out for a second because we may need you. All right. Finish mapping the north here. Now let's talk about having entered a new era. It's true, there are barbarians approaching our city. The droughts are occurring and stopping and whatever. Because we entered a new era, we get a new what do you call it? Quest, a new quest from each of the city-states that we know, that we had already completed the quest for. Mexico City wants a trade route, and I think that's a pretty sensible thing to give them. Candy wants us to build a campus, which is a thing we might not do again anytime soon, because we're not super reliant on raw science output. I don't know. We'll see. Durkar Galzu needs more housing. Problems to be solved. All right. Since the game has entered a new era, you are able to make a dedication to guide your people toward the desired future for your civilization. You are in a golden age this game era. Each of your citizens exerts extra loyalty pressure in their city. Again, don't worry about this. And you get to make a dedication. So, there are 4 dedications that you get to choose from on a golden age. 4 similar but slightly differently focused dedications for a normal age, and then 4 different ones for a dark age. The dark age dedications are particularly powerful about generating era scores so that you can sort of like get yourself back into normal eras.
Okay.
The golden age ones do not give you any era score benefits at all, but they do give you just like more raw resources and stuff from them. So, if we choose a free inquiry golden age, Eurekas provide an additional 10% of technology costs. Commercial hubs and harbors, the gold adjacency bonus of commercial hubs and harbors will also provide science. That's not super exciting for us. You may think of us as a science thing, but like this doesn't play well with our rules. Pen, brush, and voice inspirations provide an additional 10% of civics, and each city receives a +1 culture for each specialty district it has. I actually think this is quite good for us. Monumentality, +2 movement for all builders. You can purchase civilian units with faith. Builders and settlers are cheaper to purchase, both with faith and gold. So this is a good, like, if you've been expanding quickly and now you just have a ton of unimproved tiles, this is a great way to fix that.
Okay.
Or the Exodus of the Evangelists. +4 great profit points per turn, +2 movement for all your missionaries, apostles, and inquisitors, and newly trained one gets bonus charges. This lets you just like bomb your religion everywhere.
Yeah.
So let me really quickly here check. England is now on 5 great profit points per turn. As it stands, we are 6 turns away from getting a great profit. In 6 turns, England will have 51 points. So we're still going to beat them to the mark. I don't think we need the bonus. I think it's pen, brush, and voice.
Okay.
This time. But so because we're in a golden age, it's much more difficult for us to achieve another golden age because we don't get a dedication that provides era score, which is a thing that you get from all of the other kinds of dedications. So that, that's a thing. Also, apparently we're allowed to make changes to our government for free this turn. We didn't finish a civic. I guess that's just an era thing. I don't know that we might want to put discipline back.
Yeah.
We're actually taking advantage of maritime industries right this second. But situations have become such that.
I mean, isn't this the way with any civilization? You have plans and then you abandon them immediately.
Not immediately.
Any kind of progress to deal with whatever crisis is going on.
Okay, so our
think about history.
Our trade route got plundered. We're losing units left and right. This tile will be ours in 4 turns under natural border growth, and I might just have our dudes sit here for 4 turns. So my hope is we want to let this accumulate naturally so that we can then spend gold to buy that one.
Yeah.
We did get the mine built. So I can't just, if I run the scout over here, or if I run the builder over here, obviously he'll get grabbed. If I run the scout and the builder over, the slinger will spend a turn killing the scout, and then the builder will build the mine and cease to exist. And that'll get us our boost.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be the move. We're going to have our archer finish this guy off. What is the next thing we want this builder to do? We could go pick up some extra... You know what? I'm going to go pick up some extra copies of stuff. Let's get more citrus with him so that we can get... so that we can trade them.
Okay.
The scout is not likely to be super useful in the future, but I guess maybe it's not reasonable to just throw him away. We can just be a little patient and grab that mine eventually. So just hang out for the turn, I guess. You hang out for the turn. Yeah, it's a little ugly. Alright, so the barbarians are attacking the city. And it's not great. Yeah, they're having a ton of droughts and weird rainfall issues up here. I don't know what their deal is. You're just hanging out for the turn. You are... I guess we may as well, like... There's a couple of tiles over here we can't see yet. We can fix that. Okay, so we can't end the turn with 2 military units in this tile. I am going to have to move the scout out. I'm going to move the scout out to here. Provide a little bit of cover for this worker, I guess. And then we have got to start doing some damage. I think I'm going to move this worker out to here in the hopes of baiting the barbarians' movement a little bit.
Okay.
They have an archer as well, which is super annoying. I might step out and just get the first strike there. Yeah, to make sure that guy's combat strength is lowered. And I want to be building other stuff, but we may have to construct a military unit here. Yeah, I think that's probably the case. So the horseman is way more powerful than all these units. It's gonna take forever to build. 7 turns feels like an eternity.
That's okay. They'll still be here at the 7 turns.
Oh, they want to send us a delegation, which means some wealth. I will absolutely accept your delegation. Okay, so they are attacking our settlement. We can nuke that guy. They pillaged our holy site. That's very annoying. The problem with them pillaging our holy site is now it's not generating great people points anymore. And they're basically like they're going to cause England to beat us here. It's not generating as many, and England is pumping their great person generation even more. So you can see there's some we can spend resources to basically like rush complete the bar, and the more filled the bar is already, the less this costs. Patronage. We might have to spend some money to beat England to the punch there. Do I want to just stand out here and promote? Is a question. So when we take the promotion on this unit, remember, it's going to heal for half of its max HP. If we heal for half of our max HP and then they both attack again, we're going to be low. This guy's going to be in really bad shape, though, this warrior. I think what I'm going to do instead is, even though, so when you're waiting for a promotion, your XP bar is just full, you cannot benefit from further experience. That said, I think I'm still just going to kill this archer because this warrior can't kill me in a single attack from this high. Not with all our bonuses and everything.
Okay.
And if the warrior hurls himself against us and we're really badly damaged, we can just fall back into the city and then take the promotion. This scout is not doing a good job of baiting the enemy's movement at all, but he's going to stay there and keep trying. Believe in yourself. All right, this one is, I guess, just going to keep protecting this worker for the moment. And you're going to keep holding on as well. Okay, let others say what they will, but the real flourishing of the classical era culture began with the drama and poetry by Babylon, so we're the first person to get a classical era civic.
Okay.
Poets have been
Which is wild.
mysteriously silent on the subject of cheese.
It's so wacky. Get it? How it's like...
Oh, fuck you, Chesterton.
It's like Sean Bean reads all these quotes of such import, but then that one is, geez, that's silly. This game's sense of humor does not necessarily always work for me. All right, let's definitely just bleed these units out. I'm gonna send this worker over here to fix our holy site. And I guess this scout can just go back to hanging out here and healing up. And yeah, we'll take the promotion now, I think. So plus 10 combat strength when occupying, an improvement that provides defense strength or a district. So if you're using your ranged units primarily for city defense, this is quite powerful. This one might be a little bit more on the march. We're going to take volley, generally useful. So in order to secure a normal next era, we have to gain 20 more civics, 20 more era score, and that's not going to be entirely trivial.
Yeah.
We've got them on the run a little bit now. It's only 3 turns until our galley's completed. I guess I'm not going to change our government. I am going to now focus us toward political philosophy. We want that upgraded government type. But I think it was worth the little detour that we took here. Let's get a new trader to replace the trader we lost. I think we're going to have this barbarian situation under control soon. She said, jinxing herself terribly.
Yeah.
We're going to build this mine. So, we just completed the first technology from the next era.
Oh no.
We're all apprentices in a craft where no one ever becomes a master.
However, there is a minimum length for eras. An era cannot be as short as that one would have to be by the general rules. So I think it's like, I don't remember exactly how long it is, but it's not gonna haul us into the next era immediately. All right, we're gonna go ahead and buy this tile and fish.
And all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by.
Okay, so as soon as we're done building this boat, we're definitely gonna start working on more naval stuff here.
Okay.
Pressing forward into the next era was worth a little bit of extra era score, so that's useful. We boosted apprenticeship and celestial navigation there. We are just tearing up the science track.
Now, can we repair the holy site?
Yeah, it takes the builders got to do it. It took our turn to move on to that holy site because it's on a
Without
hill.
craftsmanship, inspiration is a mere reed shaken in the wind.
So we have here. Let's look at our policies here. We just earned bonus production toward ancient and classical era melee, anti-cavalry, and ranged units. A thing that would have been useful before.
Yeah.
At this point, I think we probably just leave it discipline for now. And like urban, this part of the problem that I have with this this system is I just don't think the individual policies are designed all that interestingly. Because like urban planning, you just kind of leave it as urban planning for a lot of the time in the early game. There are definitely situations where colonization and Ilkum make sense. Like we had a period there where if we had access to Ilkum, we definitely would have been using it. Colonization is a thing that we will probably think about in the near future. But yeah, like we've gone through so many researches now where we're just like, yep, I'm just gonna leave it how it is. So, oh wait, do you not do this with this might be a thing you correct in the city's build queue, actually. Ah, yes, it is. Okay. Repair the shrine. This is more important to me than the horseman. I forgot that is not a thing that builders have to do. So, this builder can just... Honestly, what I want this builder to do is like go grab the diamonds, I think.
Okay.
With the last build charge. You know what? There's a little bit of unrevealed territory over there. We can fix that. You can advance toward the barbarian camp while continuing to murk them. So it does take a it does take a melee unit to actually fight the unit in the barbarian camp, or you have to empty it and then enter it with a unit. It actually can be kind of difficult to do with ranged units because the turn after you kill the barbarian, the unit in the camp, it usually generates a new unit. So it's a little bit of a shame that we don't really have melee units left. This is the world's first seafaring unit. It seems like the other players are maybe playing the game a little bit slowly. Apparently that was Hunza's... I didn't even look at Hunza's quests, but apparently we did that. So, good for us. This archer is available for promotion. Let's go ahead and buy that. This warrior is trying to threaten us. Okay, so we got a boat. Let's go check things out. So this is a very common thing in these types of games. You can see there's shallow water and then the darker deep water.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the game, generally naval units can only enter the shallow water, which is, always within X tiles of a coast.
Mm-hmm.
And to get access to the deep water, you gotta do some stuff. So, the harbor. Harbor is going to give us some Great Admiral points. It removes the movement penalty for embarking and disembarking from the city to this tile, which is handy because usually that costs an entire turn getting in or out of the water. And it generates bonus gold from adjacent districts, adjacent coastal resources, and so on. Which means that if we build it right here, it's going to be generating 3 gold per turn. I think that's probably, just right at the mouth of the city makes sense. And having a harbor is going to give us the ability to build naval trade units. Which is a big deal. Oh, here's a problem. England is over the threshold. They are going to get 1 turn before we would have through a combination of them working together with these barbarians and them pumping their great profit points to a silly level. They are going to establish a religion before us, and I am annoyed.
And they got Simon Peter, so that just turns our plans upside down. That's a very funny joke about the crucifixion of St. Peter.
All right. All right, I will allow it.
Everything has its limit. Iron ore cannot be educated into gold.
They choose the quotes they choose.
Honestly, I think I don't want to be mean.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of work and a lot of thankless work.
Sure.
But it does feel like they just Googled iron plus quote.
Well, that's not really what I was saying. I was saying that particular quote about how you can't educate iron ore into gold definitely feels like it is just, it's very much reinforcing a particular philosophy that a lot of things in this game kind of already point to. Oh, hey, look, a barbarian camp formed out here in the desert. That's annoying. We'll deal with them. This is maybe not entirely cool, is the point I was making. We're going to finish making this horseman.
Yeah. Okay. And then I should ask you, where are we on time for this episode?
Where we are on time is we're pretty close to ending the episode, but first we're going to claim a great person. Look at that. We hit the thing. Woo, John the Baptist.
I hope we don't lose our head. I'm very funny.
The next great prophet is Confucius. Do you have one for that?
I don't.
Oh, interestingly, England did not purchase. They just didn't press the button. They still have all their points. That's weird. Anyway, found a religion. Let's found our religion, and then we'll call it right there. That's kind of what I was trying to play to.
Yeah.
All right. There's barbarians. Are there camps down here? No, the scout that we saw over here was a scout from this camp. I'm pretty sure. Okay. Select a religion. So, this game, there are going to be 4 religions. In a 6-player game, there can be as many as 4 religions. We can see the beliefs that the other players have chosen. Somebody set up some Eastern Orthodoxy. England. Oh, England did buy a profit. I don't know. England's just generating other great profit points, I guess. I don't know what's going on with them. Maybe it's not displaying something correctly. But England generated some Catholicism already in the holy city of Leeds. We are going to found a religion ourselves. So we get to pick a symbol. We get to set a name. I don't know if you have any strong feelings here, but the way that I have traditionally gone is we pick this one because it's the orangest. And then the religion is named something in the neighborhood of giant crab time or adjective crab time is where I like to be.
That's good. I like that.
All right. So we get to choose a sort of like a base belief that affects cities that have this religion. +1 amenity in any city that has specialty districts. Holy sites faith adjacency bonus provides production as well. Can be a very useful one. Jesuit education. So like after a certain point in the game, like I said, religious units become less useful. So a thing that I like to think about when I'm setting up my religion, especially if I'm not trying to win an early or mid-game religious victory, is like, what am I going to do with faith later? And the game has some built-in answers, but I do like Jesuit education, allowing you to buy campus and theater square district buildings with faith. So the buildings that produce science and culture.
Yeah.
Relics have triple yield of both faith and tourism is interesting if you have relics or ways to generate relics. That's a little luck based, as I remember. I kind of think let's just Jesuit education.
Okay.
And then we get a second belief, and this belief, there's a couple of different kinds of things you can go for. You can see they're sort of separated by symbol. The clasped hands are about houses of worship. Your religion can have a particular kind of house of worship that you can build in your holy site, and they do different things. Watts give, they all give 3 faith, but Watts give science, Gurdwaras give food and housing, meeting houses give production, mosques make your missionaries and apostles more effective at spreading your religion, pagodas generate diplomatic favor. Also, you can just pick up sort of like general benefits. These are things about like spreading the religion. You earn more resources for how much the religion has been spread out into the world.
Okay.
I do like a meeting house because production. Gurdwaras also, I think, are very good. Food and housing versus production. I feel like we usually can get where we need to get on housing. I'm gonna say meeting houses here. And we'll just found us some giant crab time, which is the true path of salvation. Please ignore all the other ones. 2 era score. We did it. We've established the crab time. Crab time is now. So obviously our progress toward theology has advanced now that we have a religion. I think it's a fairly sensible way for that to work. And with that, we've wrapped up sort of a dive into a lot of the early game systems. I think we understand a lot of the basic ideas. You can see here, all of these cities have Catholicism. All of the English cities have Catholicism as their religion, as does Mexico City. It hasn't really spread into Canada yet, which is interesting because we'll talk about spread mechanics and stuff next time because it'll start to be relevant as we're trying to spread our religion.
I'll be very interested in that.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do right now instead is just put this image up and say, hey, that's going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. There are a lot of mechanics in this game. We are nowhere near done explaining them. But hopefully you're starting to get a picture of this, and I definitely will have some questions for you as we go on. But
okay, yeah.
Come back next time for the religion episode, and we'll see you then.